Hey, Leo, welcome to the show. As a way of getting started, give us a little background on yourself.
Hey, thanks for the invitation, Brian. Really appreciate it.
So how long you been in sales?
Oh, more than 20 years now. So yeah, so in IT sales more than 20 years, and before that, and that's pretty strange because I started actually in the area of sports, with fitness studios. So I was a sales guy there for Reebok, and then I changed short before 2000 into the IT industry because I realized that the business is going on there, which is pretty serious.
Yeah. And you got to work at some great companies too, huh?
Oh yeah, so all kind of flavors. Yeah, so I had the entire roller coaster. So I started with startups, yeah, in the outsourcing industry, service industry, IT based. Then I changed, I think in 2003, I changed to SAP. Yeah, 2001, I changed to SAP. Spent there almost 8 years. Yeah, so started in the service industry for outsourcing services sales. Then after realizing that SAP spent the biggest focus on software products and maintenance, sustainable business, as they call it, rating agencies. So I changed into the license sales. Yeah, then I was responsible with an entire team of 10, 12 people for BMW.
Wow.
Worldwide. Yeah. So yeah, and then after that, I just went further and further. And now, after a while, I decided to go back to a smaller company where I'm still right now since 10 years. Because, as you know, big companies have some advantages, but also some disadvantages. So, and you need to find out what fits best for you.
Yeah.
I also, in 2003, I also raised an own company together with my two brothers. They were SAP developers, so we had a SAP consultancy, and which we sold in 2010. So yeah, so pretty good pool of experience.
Cool. And sounds like you did a little bit of leadership and a little bit of frontline selling. Is that true?
Yeah. So I started actually as a pure sales guy, right?
Yeah.
So really from the scratch. Then turned into more leadership roles. Yeah, but I was always entrepreneur thinking and sales focused, and because I definitely think you can't be a good sales leader if you don't understand what on the other side happens.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, in our industry, especially in IT sales, when it comes to complex sales situation, it turned out in the big companies, a lot of sales leaders are more sales controllers. They are not really sales enabler and giving you support as an account manager when you're struggling with things. And I also find out that a lot of those managers, sales managers, never did sales before. So how should they enable you?
Well, that's it, because that's not really sales management or leadership. That's sales operations.
Correct. Yeah, and a good leader covers both. Yeah, so it's sales leadership, it's sales operation. Yeah, and controlling is a part of the story, and we need to count numbers. We need to predict things. Yeah, but in sales, the strange thing in sales, it's not a science. Yeah, everybody thinks sales is a science, and then when you do everything right, you close the deal. Yeah, and we both know that's not true. Yeah, you can do 100% everything correct, and at the end, because things changing, there are so many influencing factors. And at the end, you stand here without a signature. And so it's not like mathematics where you have an exact result when you do everything correctly, right?
And that's it. A lot of people either don't believe that or don't want to believe that.
Yeah.
It's a lot like parenting, right? You can do all the right things, but once in a while you get this wild little kid. Right?
Yeah, that's true.
And, there's part art, there's part science to it, and you're dealing with people.
Yes, and that makes it difficult and but enjoyable as well. Yeah, so that's what I really like on my job. So whenever I met new people, new customers, new characters, because you need to come along with them, you need to understand them, you need to understand their motivation, yeah, to trigger the right points. It's not always about understanding the company situation and what's the goal and strategy of the company, of your customers. It's also about his personal motivation. It's also about what's triggering him? What is he focused? Is he more technical related guy? Is he more having a high level picture on things, right? So I would never change in my life, because sales is really what I like to do and what I have done almost my entire life now. And this is giving you a great space of freedom when you work for the right company,
Yep.
under the right boss.
Yeah. It's kind of the closest you can come to entrepreneurship without all the risk.
Yeah, that's very true. And I think a good sales leader is helping and supporting account managers in his team, right?
Yep.
But gives them the freedom to do their own decisions. Yeah, maybe support them but not always micro-controlling them and everything. I mean, I saw your podcast and your videos about activity counting and CRM. Yeah, and then I'm most of the time with you. Yeah. But I also think there are situations where you need to drill into the details, or where you need those numbers and activities, especially when you have a team and one or two people are struggling in your team, right? So you need to go in. You need to go in and you need to find out what it is. Yeah, is it because he's lazy? Yeah, and sometimes not calling or not writing email doesn't mean he's lazy. It also can mean he's frustrated, because he did it wrong. Let's say he did it 1.5, 2 years wrong, and he never get response, then he just gave up, and waiting for telesales to bring him leads or something else.
Right. Because since the CRM is pretty much 100% self-reported.
Yeah.
The lazy C players know what the manager's looking for and will put it in there.
And they always can hide. Yeah. They always can hide.
So you end up not managing salespeople, but actors, people who are acting like they're salespeople.
That's true. Very true. Yeah. So I mean, activity counting, I'm not a big fan of it. Yeah, but in several situations, it helps you a bit to understand where the problem is, and this enables you as a leader to support your people, right? So,
and I gotta believe, any decent manager can tell how active, what type of work ethic somebody has without looking at a database.
Yeah, that's true. Most of the companies I worked for, you have this sales alignment calls, where your manager is calling you and you have to report what you have done. And in crazy companies, you have it on a weekly basis, right? So in more loose companies, you have it on a monthly basis. In my team, I stripped it completely. I don't have those calls anymore. Yeah, we have account reviews where we go, really, my boss and I go into the account situation with this specific account manager and just trying to identify where possible obstacles are. Is the budget approved? It's a classic sales drill into thing, So understanding the situation, because it's also important for us as leaders when we do forecasting. Is it really a solid forecast, or is it just rubbish, right? Or are there potential threats behind the corner which you have to identify? We call it. This is something I learned from my boss, and he's calling it chasing the white van, right? Just running behind the van all the time, and I got it. And then the last mile, you just realize, okay, there's nothing in that van, so it just disappears.
And I think that's the difference between sales leadership and sales management.
Yeah.
A good sales leader, and I had one early in my career, we would whiteboard out the deal, put the org chart, who have we talked to, who haven't we, who's in our camp, who isn't, what should we do next? Instead of arguing, is it 80% likelihood or 75% likelihood?
Yeah, but also forecasting, you know that better than me. It's not really a forecast, it's a feeling, it's an assumption. And you believe in it or not, right? So forecasting is something which you have a pretty big percentage that it's coming, right? So and forecasting a deal which is probably have a 1.5 year sales cycle, doesn't make really sense to me, because it's a long road to go, especially in IT complex sales situation. I said a lot of things can happen. Yeah, we just learned it through COVID. Yeah, we had some decent deals, and we're doing very well through this crisis, really. But also on our side, we had some decent deals in the pipeline, who then just stopped. Yeah, so we were 100% sure it's coming in, and in March, out of nothing, and nobody was calculating with that. Nobody has ever forecasted it, right? So, and this is exactly what sales makes it so difficult. Things can change. It can change immediately. It doesn't have to be COVID. Yeah, it can be that.
It could be anything.
Yeah, it can be an impact, a corporate strategy change, your contact, your coach, your champion on the customer side is changing companies, and you fall over and you start everything again. So forecasting is important, yeah, that you give some feeling to your management, to your senior management, but on the other side, it's always a bit of a glancing into the crystal ball.
And, you came highly recommended to the show. What differentiates you from an okay rep?
I mean, I started to realize that sales has changed. So as said, I'm over 20 years now in the industry, and in 2000 it was really cool. Yeah, you had a cool product, you had a cool service in IT, and they just opened you the door. Yeah, because people were rare, service people, consultant were rare. And what has changed is that the market is overflooded now with products and sales reps, right? So when I talk to my people, when you have a complex product, and we're a software company, 1,000 people based in America, in Illinois, Springfield, yeah. So we grew a lot during the 5-6 years. We almost doubled our people, and it's a quite complex product. So opening the door and raising the interest, typically first step, that you coming into a sales phase, that's probably the hardest part now. Yeah, and what has changed is you can't do it like you have done it 15, 20 years ago when you wrote an email and you praised your product in that email. Yeah, what a great product, what great values, and what features you have, and I'm pretty sure we can save you millions per year. And this is what I started to realize 5 years ago. Yeah, that the response rate is going down like this because there's so many emails. They just filtering it out. You don't get a response, and I think a really good sales rep today, before he takes the phone, before he's writing an email to anybody he never met before, he's spending hours and hours to do investigation about this company, about this specific person, yeah, trying to find article. Let's imagine you want to contact the CEO of a huge company, and our products are mainly for enterprise companies, so the CEOs are pretty high-level people. It's so important that you understand what he's talking about, which IT campaigns he has, which IT strategies he has, and then you need to take your story, your values, and tailor-made it into that story. Right? Mm-hmm. So when you approach him, he wants to hear exactly what your product can do in his situation. Yeah. I'll give you an example. So when your product is something which can create value for companies who has a lot of branches, right? Yeah. Then you need to understand how many branches he has. And you need to talk about his number of branches, right? Not about a generic thing you promote, because that is the likeliness that he will respond and goes down like this. Yeah. So, but again, even if you do it like this, even if you have a great story, if you personalize it, it doesn't mean that he's responding to you. If you have a response rate from, let's say, 30% of your emails and contact, that's pretty good. Yeah. So I think this is one of my recommendations, which I would give: investigation, preparing the call, and tailor-made your message.
And is that something that you feel you do better than most people?
Some people say this, yeah. That's actually one of my biggest portion of my job as sales manager now with my team, and I'm responsible for EMEA Central. That's Germany, Austria, Switzerland, and Eastern Europe and Russia. So it's a pretty big coverage. And my people tell me that I'm probably doing this very well. So my job is to contact C-level people in this enterprise business, raise their interest. Yeah, and this is not only by email or phone. It's more also when I join CEO conventions, to create a relationship on the bar in the evening, creating trust. And you see, hey, I come good along with this guy, and so he's listened to me, and then you can slightly start to talk about things with him, and you can ask him questions. Well, what's the most important topic on your desk at the moment, as the CEO here? And then you can try to find out if is there a need for a product like you have. So this is what I do most of the time, opening doors on this level. And then, and this is most important, people always think CEO are buying products. CEOs of big companies are not buying products. Get rid of this idea, right? They maybe think your product fits into his strategy, into his goals, and then he's referring you to people who are buying the product. Yeah. So don't waste your time in telling a CEO all A to Z what your product can do, all the features, you know. He wants to hear 2 or 3 points which fit into his strategy, yeah, which is on his desk right now. And if you can help him there, he will open you doors and he will refer you to the people with a recommendation. Hey, listen what this guy has to say, because I think that's interesting for our project. Yeah. And then you have done the half mile, right? The halfway, sorry.
And when you're looking to hire reps, what do you look for?
The first thing is I'm looking on how they sell themselves. Yeah. Are they shy guys? Are they very open guys? Are they funny guys? Are they there? And I use the word there, you know, when you say applying for jobs, so you meet them, and I'm applying to get them, of course, so it's both sides. Yeah. And when we meet the first time, are they funny guys? Are they nervous? You know, can they create an atmosphere where I think, hey, this is a good guy and I really want to have a chat with him. This is a guy I would have to drink a beer. So is he able to create a relationship with his rhetoric skills, yeah, and with his what's the English expression for it? You know, in Germany we have a word which is describing that empathy. That's the word I was looking. Empathy. Yeah. So does he understand what I'm looking for, and is he interested in it? You know, so that's the most important thing, because if you have somebody who can talk in a way which is not aggravating you, you know, and which is not irritating you, and it's creating an atmosphere. So this is probably the biggest skill you need in sales. The rest is technique. It's training about the products, you know. It's giving him advice how to, you know, you have products with features. And what a lot of reps are doing wrong on the market is they try to sell features, but you're not selling features. You're selling values behind the features, right? So I give you an example. Our company is providing a software which can eliminate hundreds of servers. Some companies have saved 2,000 servers with that, right? With that software. But when you say, hey, we can eliminate servers, yeah, and you don't need such servers in your branches anymore, that's pretty cool for a guy. But we always assume he understands the value behind it. Yeah. So, and it's not. Yeah. We always need to make sure that he understands what that means. Yeah, a server costs you, according to Gartner, $5,000 a year. Windows server, yeah, and half of it is software and hardware. The rest is your IT stuff. And then you have created a value in money, right? So, but those things you can trade. But the ability to be likable, to have empathy, to understand your opponent on the other desk, you know, that's very important in my eyes. This is number one I'm looking for.
And that's very hard to learn or change.
It is. I actually think you can't learn this. It's in your personality or it's not. So in my eyes, you are born for sales, shop or not, right? And this is nothing, it's not bad. If you're not a sales guy, it's not bad. You have your skills in different areas, right? So the hardest job in the world is telesales in my eyes. Now I have a telesales guy, he's really good, Michael, yeah. And Michael is pretty old. So when I hired him, he was literally asking me, so why are you hiring me? Yeah. Because I'm far over 50 years old now, and I say, hey, Michael, you know, you're on the phone, you're writing emails, so nobody will realize how old you are. Hopefully, they realize that you are an old guy with a lot of experience, you know, and not a loose, cheesy car seller, right? So, but for me, it's important what he said, and just the fact that he asked me that question, why I'm hiring him, because he's so old, showed me that this guy has really balls, right?
So it's confident, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And confidence is another part I'm looking for. Yeah, so when you're talking to high senior level people, yeah, C-level, it's important that you don't feel I'm the sales guy, the little sales guy who have no chance to talk to the CIO. If you have that feeling, don't make the call. Yeah, It's important that you think,
Peer.
hey, I'm a consultant. Yeah, I can help him. And therefore, coming back to the investigation thing, yeah, I can tell him something which can help him in his projects, right? Therefore, it's important that you have to tell a story and that you know exactly what to tell. But then you can step into the conversation as a consultant on an eye level, right?
How about, because yours is probably a high dollar amount, I'm guessing.
Sorry, again?
Your product is a high dollar amount?
Yeah, I mean, so small deals are 6-digit, and then it goes up to 7-digit software deals, right? And long-term business.
How about as far as them knowing how a large complex sale like that takes place?
I try to be brutally honest, yeah, about the sales cycles to my people. When I hire salespeople, I tell you, hey, get rid of the idea that you can sell something within the first year. What you can create is after half a year onboarding, you can create leads and things like that. So normally I start to tell them, hey, take the smaller accounts when you start here to learn, right? You big fishes, you don't want to waste or make your failures, which you can prevent after being 1 or 2 years with the company, right?
Yeah.
So the amount of deals, depending on which area, is it really a holistic solution they want to buy for us or a small solution? So I typically motivate them to start with smaller opportunities, smaller accounts, that they have the ability to learn. And after a while, they gain confidence, and then we really go for the big targets. So
yeah, because I got to believe that the same thing would happen. Because what I hear with other clients of mine is, they can afford it, they need it, they want it, but they don't execute, right?
Yeah, but the times are over where people just buy fancy stuff, especially in IT. Yeah, fancy is nice, yeah, and cool stuff is really nice, but nobody is spending any dollar anymore for something who is not providing a return of investment in a reasonable time, right? Yeah. So what we typically do is in the sales phase is we identify the situation. Yeah, we collecting some metrics together with the customer when he's interested, and then we build a business case.
Yeah.
So in the business case we build for them is the justification for the investment. So instead of shocking the customer right with a high price, yeah, and then it could cost you about 3 million, yeah, we tell them, hey, it completely depends in which situation you are and where we can provide value. We have a huge product suite, right? You can buy the entire suite and invest millions, yeah, which is probably a good idea for me as a salesperson, but for you as a customer, it maybe doesn't fit, So we try to sell a holistic pitch, always including a business case, and getting justification for the money he's investing. So we need to help our customers to justify the investment. Without that today, forget it.
That gets it away from what is it, how does it work, how much does it cost, and gets it focused on what they get.
Yeah, true. But the other really nice side on that is it brings you together with people who are much, much more senior in the company, who makes a decision, who are interested in budget, in money, The technical decision makers are great people, right? And they are important. They need to prove our solutions. They need to improve the technical features. They need to understand the usability for their customers, their users in the company. Yep. Is it usable for them? Yeah. Is it providing values in that direction? But if this is ticked, it comes to the money. And I remember one video from you on LinkedIn where you were talking about, running into these pitfalls. And doing the entire sales cycle, you promise your boss this deal is coming in, and then you realize there's a big problem, like a budget problem, because nobody was realizing it's costing so much money, And this is one of the things you can prevent those things in a very early stage,
Yeah.
So very important. Features are important for the technical people, and values are important for the senior decision maker.
Right, and to have that conversation, it needs to be interactive about how they view the world relative to your product.
Yeah, and a very important aspect on this conversation is when you tell him what is your experience of the savings, and you save so many servers, which is result in X million dollar savings a year. Don't be irritated or aggravated when the customer turns around and no, yeah, I don't believe you those numbers.
Right.
Yeah, because that's and I had people, my salespeople, some of my salespeople came back and said, "Hey, he's not believing me that number. Can you imagine? Gardner wrote it." So, yeah, but Gardner is, the Gardner report is nice to have. It's a guideline. But his specific situation, if he's saying, yeah, if you save me 30% of my IT staff operational costs, it's nice, but I have to pay them anyway. This is a stupid argumentation, but we hear that all the time from customer side.
Of course, right.
But they are on my payroll, I can't fire them, especially not in Germany and France, as you know, for the workers' councils. But then your job starts. You have to defend your business, right? So and this, coming back to confidence, you need to be very confident to start a conversation defending your numbers. And you have to say, hey, dear customer, think about that. I hear you, I understand you. But if you say 40% of your staff effort, you can use it for more important things, right? And you don't have to hire future people. So it's really about when he is pushing you back, taking the ball and be confident and brave enough and stand to what you think it's right for him. And
right. Yeah, because people typically look at it as like a simple ROI calculator. But if the other person isn't engaged in each one of those numbers,
it's worth nothing. Correctly.
Right. It's like a lot like buying a house. If you look at the cost, I'll rent. But if you look at the return over 20 or 30 years,
yeah,
makes sense, right?
Yeah, but if you're the real estate agent, and you want to sell me that house, and you said, hey, do you want to rent it or buy it? I said, hey, I'll probably rent it, and you want to convince me to buy it, and when I said, hey, I'm moving every 2 years around this globe because of my job, so I don't buy it. So your argument is gone, right?
Right.
And then you need, and coming back to preparation, you need to understand the company's motivation and the personal motivation of your contact. How is he ticking? To understand empathy, right? To understand what's really motivating him. Otherwise, you're lost. And then you come to a situation where you invested 1 year sales cycle and then you fall over the cliffs at the end.
Now, that skill is a pretty advanced selling skill, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And that's part of my job as a sales leader, those are things you can learn. Yep. Yeah. Empathy, you can't teach somebody empathy. He's an empathic guy, or he's not. Yeah. But those things you can learn, you can give him self-confidence, you can train it with him. And once he has done it twice, 3, 4 times, so his confidence increases. And once he is really, then he can really talk about the things, not with fear in his eyes. He is very brave, with broad shoulders, and it's a completely different picture to somebody you're talking as when you're doubting your own numbers, right?
And when you have a rep that's not, let's say, underperforming, how do you diagnose what the cause and what's the cure?
First of all, after a while, and you hire somebody and you have probation period, 3 months, 6 months, whatever. So forget it, because within 6 months you can't realize if somebody's a good sales guy or not, because it takes at least 3-4 months to onboard it, to train him on the products, and you let him out on the road, and until he has created a serious decent pipeline, it's 1 year. So, but what you can diagnose very well is if he has those soft skills we just talked about, empathy, rhetoric skills, is he a likable guy? So those are things you can identify very quick. And when I see on my people, there's a problem, with the numbers. So I start to dig into the CRM system first. I don't talk about him before I see what he's doing. I open the emails he's writing, and it's important to understand where is he lacking in the sales side. Is he lacking in acquisition, or is he probably very good in getting meetings, but then after the meeting, he's falling over. As you know, there are a lot of phases in the sales cycle. You have to perform. And I use the word perform, right? Because that's what we're doing. We're performing something, We try to convince a customer, we are consultants who can help you, What I really like to do is, and what I train my people is storytelling about as a customer. Right? When you mention that, hey, I have BMW as a customer, and they had exactly the same problem you have, and they're so happy. So don't you want to talk with them? Yeah, I can give you a connection and tell about the specific problems we solve. And this is a big portion of it. And to identify the problem starts with seeing what he's doing, how he's writing emails. When he has problems with acquisition, is he lazy or is he just writing stupid things?
Yeah.
And it's funny that you asked that question. Just 3 months ago, I had one in my team. I don't name him, a pretty likable guy, but I realized he's 3 years now with the company, and I realized in acquisition he really has a problem. Get meetings. So I checked in Dynamics, and I realized that his contact rate really went down in the last year. So that was for me a clear indicator that he's frustrated. So I opened the emails he was writing, and okay, we started. And it was what I assumed. He didn't get any response because he was writing his old school emails. Yeah, we as a market leader in that area, and we can save you millions. And I told him, so I gave him a call and hey, let's talk about your problems and your performance in acquisition. So because once you're sitting on the horse, you're doing pretty well, right? But to get on the horse is your problem. Yeah. So and he told me, yeah, he's just frustrated. He doesn't get any feedback, and when he's writing 100 emails, he maybe gets 1 or twice feedback on senior level IT people. And I said, okay, so we talked about this investigation, customizing emails, so we drilled into the problem. And after a while, he was getting really a response, from a CEO of a huge automotive company, and that was motivating him. So this is one part. And the other part is you have people who are maybe good in acquisition, because they are the cowboys. And on the other side, when they're riding on the horse, they are maybe too bit pushy, no patient enough, not really focusing on what the customer is looking for, those kind of things. You have to identify where the problem is. You need to start a conversation, then you need to drill in. And if it's not working, then you come to the other really sad part of your job as a sales leader. You maybe have to sort him out.
Hey, it's been a fun conversation, Leo. Where can people go to connect and follow you?
Yeah, I'm just on LinkedIn. I was in Xing, which is more a German-speaking network as well, but as I realized that everybody is on LinkedIn, so I just closed down my Xing. I'm not a Facebook guy. I'm not on Facebook. I'm not on Instagram. My wife is doing that very intensive. And so you find me on LinkedIn. Just send me an invite if you want. And always happy to grow my network.